Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, words my brethren all around the world watching this video. Hope you're having a great day today as you're tuning in. Do yourself a damn favor, hit the subscribe button, and surely you will not be disappointed. Now, let's get into the boxing. It was announced earlier today that St. George Groves has officially retired from the sport of boxing. He retires from boxing with a record of 28-4 and 20 knockouts. So first of all, let me just say, as a boxing fan, as someone who's enjoyed many of his fights, just congratulations to George Groves on a remarkable career in the sport of boxing. Thank you for all the fantastic fights. You know, George Groves is a fighter that I have a lot of respect for. He's someone that always gave his best in the ring, had really good boxing skills, decent, really solid power. And in my opinion, look, this is my opinion. Obviously, his career was a success. He was involved in important fights. He has some good wins on his resume. But in my opinion, I look at George Groves as a bit of an underachiever. You know, I think he should have won some more of his big fights. I think it was very unfortunate of him to get stopped in the second fight with Carl Froch, as well as the first fight. He was up on points in the first fight. I believe he was up on points in the second fight as well, and he got stopped in both. So, yeah, man, still a good career for him, though. But, you know, he walks away from the sport with wins over the likes of James DeGale, Glenn Johnson, Paul Smith. Let's see, we got Dennis Douglin. You know, he had the two fights at Carl Froch. He beat Martin Murray, and then he ultimately won the world title against Fedor Chutinov. His last notable win on his resume was Chris Eubank Jr. last year in the World Boxing Super Series when he upset him and put Nazim Hamed into he went completely crazy. You know, if you watch that fight, you know what I'm talking about. The Prince Nassim before the fight was talking about how Chris Eubank is the next superstar of boxing, and then he was saying he's not good enough at the end and said he needs to retire. So that was quite a classic moment. You know, George Groves was part of a lot of classic moments, and I'll always have just a respect for him as a fighter. You know, but his last fight he lost to Cameron Smith, got stopped. And if I'll say anything about George Groves, I would just say that he's a guy that he was always willing to fight the best fighters out there. So just massive respect to him. But I make this video to kind of, you know, Carl Froch. Okay, so going back to Carl Froch. Carl Froch had quite a lot to say about his career today, and he got pretty animated in what he said. So I'll read you some quotes. Here's what Carl Froch said on George Groves' retirement. This is via Sky Sports News. He said, I quote, "He had a fantastic career, really. He had quite explosive powers in his best days, but I think he just went past his best after getting ironed out by me at Wembley Stadium. All the best to him and good luck with the future," end quote. Now, Carl Froch, for better or for worse, is an ass. He's an ass, man. I love Carl Froch, but he's an ass. Like the man literally compliments him before, like early in that statement, and then he compliments him towards the latter part of the statement. But then he says what he really wants to say towards the middle of that statement. You know, he got ironed out by me at Wembley Stadium. Like he always has to talk about knocking this guy out in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium before he finishes his sentence. But he started out by saying that. Then early in a separate piece, he actually wrote an article for Sky Sports. I think it was Sky Sports, and he was saying that he won't miss George Groves, and he's pretty sure that British boxing won't miss him either. So pretty harsh stuff from Carl Froch. I don't understand why there's still so much animosity towards George Groves. I mean, for Christ's sakes, you stopped him in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium. You should have been content to do that, but I mean, this guy just really doesn't like George Groves. So you know, it is what it is. Andre Ward reacted to those comments today, and he said that, because, you know, obviously Ward and Froch don't like each other going back to the Super 6. Rightfully so, but here's what Andre Ward said about Carl Froch's comments to George Groves. He said, "This dude is the biggest hater. You're over 40. You're over 40, bro. Let it go. The arrogance is off the charts." He also went on by telling George Groves, "Congrats on a great career, champ. Glad you get to go out on your terms. Bless you, man." So, yeah, you know, honestly, look, I like Carl Froch. You know, I think I look at his career in a very positive light because he's someone that wasn't the most skilled fighter in the world. But in my opinion, he overachieved. He found the style that worked for him. He was able to land punches that worked for him, and he had fight changing power, and he knew how to apply that fight changing power in big fights, which is no small feat. So I have a lot of respect for his career. But in terms of how you're handling George Groves, man, I mean, let it go, bro. You beat him twice. Just keep my language. Just be fucking happy that you beat him. All right, just be happy that you beat the guy twice in 2 very important fights in British boxing. So that's that. But going back to George Groves and his career, you know, I look at his career with reverence and I look at it with admiration, because this is a guy that, in my opinion, that, you know, he lost. You know, he had 3 attempts at a world title. You know, he lost to Carl Froch twice. He lost to Badu Jack in a close fight later on in 2015. And then ultimately in 2017, he finally got to become a world champion when he defeated Fedor Chutinov. So he's someone that kept going despite the fact that he kept losing in world championship fights, and he became a world champion. He's someone that, you know, was in important fights. He's someone that pushed the bar for boxing in the UK, because quite honestly, you know, you didn't see at that point in time, you know, obviously I know like in the 90s you had big fights between, you know, Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, you know, and they were doing big shows at Old Trafford. But I'm saying in recent memory, you hadn't been seeing those massive stadium fights at the level of Froch Groves. So I think the way I look at his career, I look at him as being one of the guys that helped push boxing in the UK forward, and which thus in turn has helped boxing as a whole, you know, just progress and do better. And anybody who helps push this sport forward in any way, shape, or form, I can get behind. Anybody who's willing to fight the best and put the best foot forward in all their fights, I can get behind. And when you talk George Groves, when you talk about his career, that's exactly what I'll remember it for. I'll remember it for a guy who fought the best, was willing to take on all comers, pushed the envelope as to, you know, big fights, and a guy that was one of boxing's true warriors. So with that being said, I wish George Groves a happy life. I hope that, you know, he got everything he wanted out of boxing. I hope he can look back at his career and be happy with what he accomplished, because I was happy to watch his fights and talk about him here on True School Sports. And should anything happen with him in the future, I will continue to talk about him on True School Sports. And as we know, most boxers, they don't really retire. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Carl Froch reigns on George Groves' retirement parade. And just basically, yeah, like he just reigns in this whole parade. Actually, you know what? Before I go, I wanted to read George Groves' quotes, because he actually did write a statement today. Here's what George Groves said today about his retirement, because, you know, we talked about what Ward said about his retirement. We talked about what Froch said about his retirement. Let's talk about let's go to the source itself, and let's see what he said about his own retirement. He said, I quote, "After taking a little time to reflect on the events in my career, I have decided that it's time for me to retire as a professional fighter. In 2017, I boxed in front of a home crowd in Sheffield and became the WBA super middleweight world champion. After 4 attempts, I finally fulfilled my childhood dream, and the experience was as great as I had always imagined it would be. It was without a doubt the best moment of my career. Some of you might think it is odd that I'm choosing this time to retire. I'm still young, still fit and healthy, and there are still some big fights out there for me. But it is time." It is for these reasons that I am choosing to retire now. I have a young family at home. It's time to spend some of my better days with them. I don't want there to be a time where I'm too old to box on, or where an injury retires me in or out the ring. Over the years, I have seen and sadly known the dangers of the sport, and I want to respectfully bow out while I'm still at the top of my game. I've learned that doesn't always mean coming off the back of a win. I've boxed the highest level all over the world. I've been a champion, and I'll be leaving the sport relatively intact." End quote. So there you go. There you have it. George Groves. Those are the words himself. And, you know, fair play to him, man. If he feels that this is the right time to retire, it's his career, it's his prerogative, it's his life. You know, straight up and down, it's his life. And to me, I had no problems with that. He's one of boxing's true warriors. He's fought the best. You know, he's fought Carl Froch. He's fought James DeGale. He's fought Glenn Johnson. He's fought Badu Jack. He's fought Caleb Smith, Fedor Chutinov. He's fought, you know, just a whole host of great names. And you know, just massive respect for George Groves. And I'm happy to see him. I really hope he got everything he wanted out of boxing, because he's someone that I did admire watching when he fought. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. George Groves announced his retirement from the sport of boxing. Leave me your favorite George Groves moment, whether it be in or out the ring, down below. Take the time to subscribe, like I say in every single one of my videos. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.